So the number one cure for anxiety and depression is the intentional creation of art. Peace, and love and blessings to all. I hope that everybody's doing well, you know what I'm saying? Today's episode is going to be the last episode of this series, Spiritually Awakening While Black. I really enjoyed this. This is the series that I've initiated my YouTube channel with. Really helped me get a good feel for, how I want to do this. The concept that we're gonna discuss is what a lot of the content that I continue on this channel is gonna revolve around. And that is this concept of art as healing. When it has come to my spiritual awakening process, right, while being a black person. Like we said, the spiritual awakening is essentially this coming into maturity, this coming into awareness of things greater than just what we've been told, but rather forming our own sense of self and purpose and being guided by the positive energies and dynamics that exist on this earth. But when we add in the component of the black experience, the internalized trauma of it in particular, I think for a lot of us, we probably experience some form of anxiety and depression, not just during the spiritual awakening, but in life in general. So that when you're going through this intense process of coming into yourself, the facing of anxiety and depression is really the name of the game, you know what I'm saying? My favorite tactic, my favorite strategy to overcome anxiety and depression, and what I think is the number one strategy for any black person dealing with anxiety and depression, we have to make art. We have to be creative. We have to step into our creative power. That is the gift that God has given us, right? That is the essence of God, right? God, the creator, has created creation and then has created us, creators. So I think the cheapest form, the most accessible form, the most enjoyable and fulfilling and most powerful form of healing in terms of emotional and mental health and spiritual health, art. It always was art. And some people may be like, I'm not necessarily an artistic person. I'm not creative. That's not true. The nature of you being here was a creative process. It's boiled into your DNA. You'll never be able to escape the creative process. All it is that we have to do as individuals is identify the way that it manifests for us. And that is very different for everybody. For some people, it may not be in the form of music or dance, or painting. For some people, it may just be sharing their thoughts, a podcast, for example, or, interviewing people. For some people, it may be their ability to take in knowledge and synthesize it into new ideas, or in other words, somebody may be in academia, or, somebody may be an intellectual. For some people, it may just be the art of understanding other people, right? These are your counselors and your coaches. So everybody has a creative ability, and what that ability is, the way that I think about it, right? I like to take a scientific approach, right, to the sacred. I see the creative process as you get some type of input, then you have a certain way that you process, right? And then you have a certain way that you output that information. What does that process manifest as? We are a machine. The body and the brain is the most divine and the most advanced technology that we have access to, because the body is a vessel for the spirit, which is the infinite, eternal essence of the creator, right? That is that creative essence. The fact that the spirit exists within the body requires the creative process, right? So this input, what you take in, this process, or how you deal with everything that you take in, and this output, how you release what it is that is meant to be released from that process. Where anxiety and depression comes into play is when somewhere in those three parts, there's a disturbance, blockage, something's not working right, something is not getting done. So for example, maybe in the input stage, you just take in way too much, and that's where you get anxious, right? Or maybe a reaction into being surrounded by so much information is that you just shut off. And now, you're in a depressive state. Now let's say maybe it's the input stage. You don't have a process, or you're not aware of what's the best way for you to process. So now you get to overthinking, you get to, analysis paralysis, where now you just got all this information that's not really going anywhere, not being used, not being digested. Or maybe in the output stage, you feel like you don't have anybody to talk to. You feel like you maybe talk too much, you know what I'm saying? So it's different ways to look at what it is that I'm talking about, but the main solution to take in input, process that information, and output it very efficiently and effectively towards your desired life and goals and state of mind, you have to create. You have to make art. This is something I'm so passionate about. When it comes to the history of African people on the earth, it was through our art and our creative thought. The roots of everything that we deal with and interact with, contrary to popular belief, has its genesis in African creative thought. From politics to agriculture to architecture to religion, science, math, African sacred science, or in other words, African creative thought, the creative thought process of African peoples along the process of human history. So the number one cure for anxiety and depression is the intentional creation of art. Let me talk about my experiences with anxiety and depression, where I think the roots really started at, right? When I was a younger person, maybe around the 5th grade, 6th grade, I had this experience where I choked on my food, right? You know what I'm saying? So that was my first experience with death, near-death experience. But then a year, maybe 2 years later, it happened again. Year, maybe 2 years later, it happened again, right? I remember 3 experiences, right, where I choked on my food. I became very sensitive to the sensation that I would feel before I would start choking, right? So I got really sensitive, dialed into what's going on inside my physical body. I remember this one day I was at lunch and it felt like I was about to choke. And I remember I just kind of you know how in middle school, the lunchroom is, the liveliest place, everybody, eating, laughing, joning on each other, you know what I'm saying? It's just a good time. I remember I felt that sensation. I didn't hear anything else. And it was like I could see all my peoples at my table in slow motion. And it was just like I wasn't there. Like I didn't really feel anything, but my body kind of just carried me to the nurse's office. And after I got to the nurse's office, everything blacked out after there. But again, I didn't choke. I wasn't choking. It just felt like I was about to. And that's what anxiety is. Anxiety is a fear of a future negative outcome. But ever since that day, I had developed an eating disorder. And, I've always been like a pretty slim dude. Like I'm not, I don't weigh that much at all. You know what I'm saying? It got to a point to where I really wasn't eating much at all. Like I would just go to lunch and have milk essentially. And I don't remember a lot of that time, but my mom said, she noticed I had lost a lot of weight, see my rib cage and all that. But yeah, I had this eating disorder and I had this nervous tick where I would pull on my throat. I would have to do this and my chest would get tight. And every time I was eating, it was like a whole ordeal. So I just didn't eat. And it was a really tough time for me in reality, but looking back, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize how much I was dealing with that anxiety and how, that was affecting my whole life, right? If you're not eating, if you're not nourishing yourself, that affects all other aspects of your life. So now my energy levels are low. So now I'm sleeping all the time. and I'm not getting the proper nourishment, so now here comes depression. So, essentially all through high school, I was dealing with this thing, dealing with this fear just looming over me all the time, dealing with this internal battle of not simply being able to feed myself without fear, without that nervous tick, A way that manifested socially as well, I definitely felt weird. I had left all my friends from the middle school that I was at, right? So those are all the people that I knew that I was real close with, and I left and went to, a bigger public school, a lot of different people. When it came to socially, I really didn't, I stayed to myself. And I'm an introverted person by nature, but, the habit of being in that state of anxiety on a body level really trickled out to, my emotions, my mind, and my relationships. And I remember all I would do, bro, headphone. Every day, all day. I'm not in class, headphone. But the thing was, I did real good in school, That was really my thing. That was really the only thing that I did. I didn't go to parties, I didn't go out and do things really. I lived a pretty, sheltered childhood, essentially. Part of it was self-imposed, part of it was growing up with a protective mother. But, I'll say all that to say that usually my coping mechanism was music. I just listened to music. My artist of choice was Kendrick Lamar, my favorite rapper of all time. The storytelling, the intellect, the poetry of it all, and just like the performance, was very masterful. And I started listening to Kendrick, back in 6th grade. As I'd be listening to his music, he began to inspire me to start writing. I began writing poetry, I began writing songs, And that's what I did. That's how I got by, and that's how I calmed my nerves every day. But junior year of high school, this is where things changed, because I went to this class, right? And it was in our career center, but it was called Music and Sound. And my teacher was Mr. Hendricks, right? Shout out Mr. Hendricks. And in this class, I essentially learned how to produce music and how to record. And I did that with other people. That was my favorite class. It got to a certain point, like when senioritis started to kick in, like I would skip all my first period classes and just go to music sound. But that was a major tool, and I did not notice that at the time. Like that was a major tool. Like I just wasn't aware. Like as an adolescent person, you're really not aware of your emotional reality. You're just living your emotions. You understand? So then, fast forward, I graduate, I get to college. Freshman year, it's fantastic. I'm making beats. And like I get freshman year, things is rolling smoothly. Sophomore year, first semester, okay. School, I think the fact that it felt a lot like high school, or like class-wise, structure-wise. I wasn't feeling discouraged, but I was just feeling kind of like bored and like unfulfilled, I guess I would say. Right before COVID, I remember starting to get back in a loop of like anxiety, more so depression. Like I was just sleeping all the time. Didn't notice it, but slowly and slowly I stopped making beats. Then I got more depressed and more depressed. COVID hit, my grandmother had passed away, my dad's mom had passed away around that time. My parents had split up around that time. So when that came around and I did that first semester online, I was like, nah, bro, like this ain't for me. I'm not gonna do college, right? Thing was, that's all my family ever poured into me, Family was like, go to college, get a good job. And like I said, I was good at school, I could have very well went along the traditional path and did very well, in that context. But I just knew, I was like, something is wrong and I don't want to feel this way anymore. I'm done, I don't want it, I don't like it. It's not okay, it's not normal. So I need to sit down with myself and figure out, why is it that I'm not living the life that I want to live? At this time, I'm seeing people my age making millions of dollars, doing things online. I'm like, what am I doing this? What am I doing here? Like, what's going on? I don't feel good. It was a hard thing to deal with, the obvious disappointment of my parents, and their fear. But I really locked in, and I sat with myself. All of these feelings and all of this time in history in this anxious and depressed state, all these buried emotion and relationship issues that I was going through. But yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, all these things that I had been avoiding and ignoring and just allowing to build up. So going back to what I was saying, for me, the input wasn't really an issue. I think I had a large capacity to take in. My issue was I just had all this shit. So I didn't have any type of process. So then when I actually went into myself and I was looking around at all this clutter, and I'm like, it was overwhelming. I wanted to not feel so heavy. I had to pull these things out. And the only way that I could pull them out, or my output, was art, music, and poetry. Ended up going through a bad breakup, you know, during this time. And that was really what lit the fire under my ass. And I just started creating and creating and creating and creating. And it occurred to me finally, oh, the reason I've been so anxious and depressed and heavy is because I haven't been prioritizing my creativity, this fundamental essence of what it means to be human. And the box, the matrix that we live in, is distinctly designed for you not to be creative. Creative people are the entrepreneurs and the self-employed and the artists, you know. Those things are not taught. And it's like this level of celebrity that is created. There's this level of separation that's created. The normal life is go to school, get a good job, get a, you know, pension and all that benefits, etc. But then this, you know, life that we can idolize and separate ourselves from is the lives that these entrepreneurs live, or these artists and actors and whatnot. Somehow, you know, they're more gifted than us. These people are normal people who have decided to live their life through their gift. And what happens is nature assist you in that type of process, right? So nature began to assist me. This is when my spiritual journey began, right? As I began cleaning out all of these things, then I began seeing what my spirit actually looks like without all the clutter. And I'm like, wow. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking around. I'm seeing all the things. You know what I'm saying? Connecting with my ancestors, connecting with our history, and I'm like, there's so much abundance. Like I went to heaven, right? It's like I went to outer space and I was seeing all these different stars and systems. You know what I'm saying? And I was seeing just the creator's creation. I was like, wow, this really is infinite, all power. It really is God. Like, it really is that. Some people can get really spaced out. Like, some people can get lost inside that, you know, sphere of spirituality. Yeah, that's not a good place to be. You know what I'm saying? And I've been there. I'll say all that to say I had to figure out how to be aware, but I had to have a specific process in place to where I could go there and come out, go there and bring something out. And when I tell you that the way that I take things in, process things, and output things in this moment of my life, I really can't emphasize how much this process has meant to me. I really cannot emphasize enough how important art is to my life. Like, art is me. This is what I'm dedicating my life to. Not only the creation of art, the creative process as it relates to the healing of the African mind. I truly believe in my heart when we all find our creative process, because that process is happening, whether anybody likes it or not, or whether anybody is ready for it or not. The world is going in that direction. But as we all find our creative outlets, man, things are gonna pick up, and the vibration of just how we even move as a society is gonna be really beautiful. But there's going to be a lot of transmutation of very heavy and nasty and dark things, right? So there's going to be a breaking down, right? A part of the process is breaking down. A part of the process is burning things. Part of the process is feeling angry. if I didn't have the skill, if I didn't have the willingness to go into myself and actually, okay, why is my heart so heavy? Like, what is this feeling? And then if I hadn't cleaned out, you know, the things that I cleaned out to be able to identify, okay, this is anger and frustration directed towards who, about what are the situations? Okay. Then I'm like, okay, I see this thing, you know, I'm working through it, you know, I'm dusting it off. And then, okay, then I can get to writing the lyrics. I'm making this anger or this, turning this coal. Now I'm writing and it's becoming something beautiful. It's becoming gold. It's becoming an opportunity now for me to share this piece of healing, this crystallized healing process that I then get to share with you all. And that's where the direction of my channel is going, you know what I'm saying? I really want to emphasize, you know, my creative process, because that's, you know, that's everything that I do. Everything that I care about and talk about, it comes down to my creative process. You know, it's really just about documentation of where I've been, where I'm at, and where I'm trying to get to. Yeah, man, and that's all through the creative process, right? And I want to be able to teach that, right? Because I want y'all to have that. Like, that's the greatest gift that I have to give to anybody at this point in my life. That's the best thing that I know, and I want to give it right here. The movement of emotions, or the movement of energy. Energy in motion is what emotions are. So if we can develop a creative process, if we can develop this form of artistic expression where it helps us take information in, digest the new information, and then to output. This channel is about African spirituality and self-improvement. When you look at life with African eyes and you live in the creative essence of your Africanness, art becomes the technology that allows you to take all of the energy that you feel and all the energy that is out there, take it in, process it, and then restructure it into whatever it is that you want that is in alignment with nature and the Most High. And that's what the name of the game is. They don't want us to create. We hold the light, and once we choose to create the means of expressing the light, we will see the truth, and the truth shall set us free. To freedom, my friends. But yeah, man, I love you all, and I appreciate it. Asking that, you know, you give me a like and a share and a subscribe. You know, we're about to get into it, you know. But I'm wishing everybody peace and power in wherever you are. Take it easy.